Thank you for joining us. Now, it's you mentioned bold goal, but it's also ambitious. The aim is to mobilize around 1 billion men to support the He for She campaign. So, what's the target though for Indonesia?
Very bold target. For Indonesia, as we go along with the government's priorities that has been outlined in the National Development Planning, RPJMN. There's some indicators and criteria that will be achieved also in that development guidance for the country. So we go along with that, including, for example, the lowering the number of maternal mortality rate, for example. Yes, we want to mobilize lots of people, as we believe that this is 2016.
Yeah.
So we need to get everybody on board to take part of it. And in 2016, we have seen a progress after it's been launched since 2014, 2015, from the private sector. So we saw the increasing number of women participations in the total employees in the companies who their CEO has been a champions for this campaign. So the increasing number of women participate in their labor force. So that's one good achievement because the target is 60 to 40, 60 for men and 40 for women.
So, but we're still talking about number of employment. We're
yes.
not talking about the involvement of women in decision-making levels yet.
Yes,
okay.
That's a challenge.
Yeah.
That's still a challenge, persists. 95% of the international global CEOs are still dominated by men. So we need to catch up.
Yeah. Well, we're starting somewhere. At least the numbers are there, and we'll find more women who has potential to lead from there on.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So from the private sector. So you mentioned about the 10 multiply 10 times 10 times 10, which is from the government, from the public sector, private sector, and the academics.
Universities. Yes.
Yeah. So, but we have seen from your report, we have seen progress in the private sector.
Yeah.
What about in the public sector? What about Jokowi's administration?
Yeah, Jokowi administration, as I said, he gave, for example, an increased commitment to promote the work in community, in women's empowerment and gender equality through increasing the budget for the Ministry of Women's Empowerment and Child Protection, for example. This is to ensure the ministry could have a better means, better resources to mobilize other sectors to work toward this. So I think this is the indicator of progress. We haven't really grasped the final destination because it's still in a progress, but we saw this as a promising to have a better gender equality in a country.
I feel like this is going to be a lifelong process, which it doesn't stop anywhere, but it's just going to continue to take place. What about our Women Empowerment Minister, and how is working with her so far, and how very supportive have the ministry been towards the campaign?
Yes, they're very, very supportive. And in fact, in 15 last year, during the Mother's Day, 2015, in NTT, there were 4 governors from West Kalimantan, from Bali, NTT, and East Java.
Yeah.
They also pledged to support He for She campaign.
Okay.
And this is with the support and encouragements from the Ministry of Women's Empowerment and Child Protections. Of course, we wait for more governors to involve.
To pledge, to get involved.
Pledge also in that campaign.
Now, who will conduct the monitoring and evaluation in these 4 areas? Are you relying solely on the ministry to help you out? I understand you have a very efficient team. especially for the He for She campaign.
Yeah.
And how are you working with? Are you working with the civil society organization, local civil society organization, and closely with the local government in making sure that they follow up to their pledge?
Yes, yes. Maybe I have to remind you and also the audience that He for She, this is a campaign, but the real work is in the programming and the planning and implementing of the activities that has an impact on people. So monitoring is everybody's business also. So it's not only from the government side, but also civil society, private sector, media could play a very important role, especially to make it the link between what is going on in the planning and what's going on in a real life.
Right.
So that's one element that we would like to encourage. And our role, being catalytic in these constellations, we work with the government, but also we work with the civil society and also other sectors. Just take it for example, as you said, that this is not only one single campaign, that's it, but we would like to see this in more sustainable way. So every 5 years, Indonesia has to submit a CEDAW report, for example. CEDAW is a conventions of all eliminations of all forms of discrimination against women. So Indonesia has been ratified since 1984, if I'm not mistaken. So every 4 years, the government will submit this report to present actually what has been done, what has been accomplished, what are the challenges, what needs to be done again in the area of women's empowerment and gender equality. On the other hand, we also work with the civil society, UN Women supporting civil society group also to produce their independent report. So government has their own report that need to be dialogued with the committee in New York next year, for example, for this coming report. And civil society has their own report also. So those two balance, those two reports, then we can see what would be the
best,
the situations of a country. Right. So this is, I think, one of the monitoring mechanism that we put in place.
You mentioned challenges. We'll talk about the challenges of the He for She campaign when we come back.